I realize that I struggle with dishonesty for self-protection. Help. Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brandon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers,
We're therapists.
and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
What is going on, you guys? Tyler here, your wandering therapist. I'm actually alone today. Brandon is out doing some good in the world. He's currently on a therapeutic trip to Peru with a group of people. So hopefully he's doing really well and doing some good things in the world. And he, of course, is living the dream while I stay home and hold down the fort. So no, good on you, Brandon. I hope you're doing some good in the world. I just wanted to throw a quick shout out before we get started today. I've just been in the afterglow for the last week or so. We just finished our Radiant Dawn conference that we do yearly for a women's retreat. And it's been a week or so since we've had it, and I've been in nothing but just awe of the women that came. I wanted to throw a shout out to every one of you. The way that you came, the way that you showed up, the energy that you brought, the feeling of love and support, and some of the massive shifts that are taking place in some people's lives as a result of this, including someone who's very dear to me. I just want to say thank you to you. It was a phenomenal experience. It was a gift to me to be in your presence, and just want you to know that I'm thinking about you and hope that you all are having some of those changes that you were feeling in your hearts continue to take place. So, all right, we have a guest today with a really good question. And Olivia, I'm going to turn it over to you. Olivia, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you here with us today. Why don't you just kind of give us a little bit of your background and ask your question? We'll go from there.
Okay. So my background, trauma just from an early age. My dad beat up my mom. He choked her out a couple of times when I was about 3.5. I would pull him off of her knowing that it was wrong. And so, there's a trauma there. And then they got divorced, and, my mom was abusive to us as well. And so, for self-preservation, it seemed like I would start telling little tiny lies so that I wouldn't get yelled at or hit. And that just started me down this path of let me tell people little lies that they want to hear so that I won't be hurt. And so that progressed through my childhood. And then when I got married, me and my husband were really good for a while. And then he got hooked on drugs after a surgery, and then just got really ugly. He was a monster. That's the only word that I can say. And so to make sure that he didn't hurt me, I would tell him lies that I believed that he wanted to hear. And the lies just, it happens so fast before I can even think of it. The little lies are there to just make sure that the situation is perfect so that they're not upset, that he's not upset, or my mom was not upset. And it's just gone on throughout my life. And about 6 weeks ago, I realized what I was doing. And now I want to stop. I want to be more authentic. I want to be me. I want to be honest, good or bad. But again, it's the past of the trauma and having PTSD and anxiety. How do I do that? How do I become me and be honest with myself? And now that I know what I'm doing, it's just kind of now where do I go? How do I
Yeah.
do this?
Man, Olivia, this is such an awesome question today. So courageous. Uh, could you tell me how did it come to your sort of awareness 6 weeks ago?
Well, me and my husband, we split up. I left him, and it wasn't a good
You
situation
left
at
him
all.
6 weeks ago?
No. I left him about 6 months ago.
Okay, okay.
And then so he asked me, he says, don't do anything just yet. I want to work on me. And so I said, okay. So about 6 weeks ago, we got back together, just to try things out and see if we can be functional together. And the funny thing is, I don't even remember what the lie was. I told him something, and he says, "Why are you always lying to me?" And I said, "I'm not lying to you." And he says, "You always tell these little half truths, or you don't say the truth." And I didn't realize that until I really sat down and I thought about it. And it was listening to one of your podcasts that helped me realize what I had been doing. Now that I'm aware of it, it was just kind of thrown in my face, and it just hit me like a brick right in the face and woke me up. And now I want to fix this, but it's been my protection my whole life. And now it feels like I'm just dropping everything and just so vulnerable. How do I fix me? How do I stop doing what I'm doing and truly be authentic and honest with myself and with those around me, my friends and my family?
All right. So this is I'm having all sorts of, you guys, I love like the word dialectics, right? So all of these different opposing things that both have truth in them, and I'm having a couple of dialectics come up in my brain that I want to just maybe explore with you for a second. Olivia, you've done a ton of work already on this in just having to sit with this new awareness that you have. So, and what I want to commend you on, and maybe even ask you about a little bit, is as you sat with this and said, "Hey, I actually do that. Like, I do make sure that I show up with half truths to be seen in a certain way, to sort of like make sure that people are always happy with me and that I don't rock the boat." And it's almost, if I'm hearing you right, it's almost like second nature. It's like,
Yeah. Yes.
I don't even realize that I'm doing it until after I've done it now, and I'm like, "Oh, dang it, I just did that again." Like,
Yeah.
But I've been doing it since I was a third grader. When you kind of look at that, and you've even come to the conclusion that the reason why you do it, what are like, if you were to sit and kind of do a pros and cons kind of a thing over the course of your life, what have been the benefits of actually using that as a coping technique versus what are the prices and consequences that you have paid or currently are paying as a result of using that as a coping mechanism?
Well, in the past, when I've done it, I believe it helped to save me from being abused.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it was kind of like a lifesaver. Something that I held on to so tightly, so that there wasn't any harm that was coming to me. And that's what I believed, truly, that, they would believe what I said. And then, that was kind of it. Now I see that when I do that, I'm not being honest with myself, and now it kind of makes me sick, to my stomach. It's like a gut punch when I do it, and I'm not sure why I still try and do it. Sometimes I before I answer, I try and take a breath and then answer the question, so that I don't just do it out of habit, that, just something that I've always done. So I just try and take that breath now and think about what I'm saying, and is it truthful, and is it going to hurt the relationship? Yes, it is going to hurt the relationship, because I'm not being honest with them about my feelings, and that hurts me, not being honest, and it hurts the relationship with friends and family.
Yeah. Okay. How does, in your current life right now, Olivia, how does it hurt relationships? Like, what is the actual effect on your relationships when you find yourself sort of defaulting to this sort of a pattern?
Well, it's kind of twofold. So one, the people that are close to me, they don't quite believe everything that I'm saying. Is it truthful? Is it really, can I believe her? And then I know it hurts me, and I see, later on, the hurt on my family's face. And that's hard. It's hard to take. It's hard to see now that my eyes have kind of been open to what I've been doing.
Mm-hmm. So them not being able to fully believe you, and then the hurt on their face does a couple of things. One is it keeps the relationship at somewhat of an arm's distance, but it also then leaves you with a feeling of shame or disappointment or something like that too, that makes it hard for you to then have confidence in yourself as well. So it's kind of a two-edged sword. It fuels arm's length relationship with people, but then it also leaves you with more shame resiliency work to do.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. At the same time, that we can understand where it comes from, and that was actually really an adaptive thing that you learned to do when you were a kid, and it might have even saved your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, many times.
Yeah. So kind of go here with me for just a second. I want to just explore this with you. This part of you, this kind of like, would it be fair to call it like a character flaw that you're trying to change now that you see it?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. It's tied to a part of you that was actually trying to survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to think about that part of you, even as an adult, when you notice it coming up in you, when you notice that kind of automatic response that starts to kick up, like, where do you most feel that part of you in your body?
When it happens?
Yeah, like when it's happening.
My body, so the reaction, and I've never noticed it, but I do now, where I get really anxious, and I almost start shaking just a little bit. Okay. When I notice that I'm doing that. So it's, before I didn't notice it, it was just something that would just come out. And now now that I know, I almost have to stop myself. Is this the real truth? Is this something that, is the truth, or is it what I perceive to be the truth? So I have to stop and kind of think about things now. And so that is a little bit harder, rather than just saying something and then, just going on with life and not worrying about it. Where now I worry about it more.
Yeah, I actually hear you doing some really good work on the day-to-day with that, where you're trying to catch yourself. And in fact, that's one thing I'm trying to do here, is try to extend out your ability to become aware, so that you can then do the kind of work that you're doing, which I know is hard work to do. Right. It's funny because your issue, like the issue you're bringing up today is like, I just got to be transparent with you. It's like hitting my heart like square on, because it's like, I was kind of made aware of one of my own character flaws again a few weeks ago, and one of the character flaws that kind of reappeared itself, even though I've known it's there, but I've tried to bury it, was this exact same issue where I'm like, I think the word that that I've been told, and the word that's been sitting with me over the last few weeks, is that I curate everything. I make sure everything is perfectly managed so that people see exactly what I want them to see.
Yes.
And people love me for that on one hand, but they never quite feel like they're fully connected to me on the other hand, because they don't get to see the ugly,
Yeah.
I called up a buddy of mine this weekend, and I called him. I said, he reached out to me, and I reached back to him, and he said, "How are you doing?" And normally I would be like, "I'm fine. What's going on in your life? Let me help you," because that's what I do, right? And then I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna actually ask for help here, because I am kind of struggling right now. So I texted him back. I'm like, actually, I'm not doing very well. I'm feeling a little depressed. And then of course he was like, well, what can I do to help? And I was like, well, could you go fishing tomorrow? And then we got in the car to go fishing, and we ended up driving up the canyon. We never got out of the canyon car to go fishing. We just got out and started walking around in the mountains. And by the time we got done talking, he said to me, I've known you for over a decade, and I've never seen this side of you. And I had gotten out, and instead of going fishing and just pretending everything was good and trying to focus on his problems, I said, I'm feeling a little lost right now. And I realize that these are some things that I need to work on in myself, and I hate that they're there and I can't seem to change them. And he just sat there and looked at me and he's like, oh my gosh, Tyler, like, it feels so good to know that you're human. Like, thank you. Thank you for sharing this with me. I've never seen this part of you in 10 years.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's a lot of how I feel too, that in one of your podcasts, you talked about the perfect child. And that's how I felt like I've always been, or I've had to be, the strong one. And I hate it. I hate that I have to be this perfect child, and it's not me. I mean, sometimes you just want to scream, I need help. I need something. I'm not perfect. I'm not this perfect child that everyone thinks that I am. And I hate having to pretend that's who I am.
Yes.
I'd like to be able to be, like you said, human and reach out for help, but it's very vulnerable to me having to always be the strong one to help everyone. And in that, I've learned that I'm not doing myself any good because I'm ignoring me and my needs.
Yeah, well, and without even knowing it, you're not only ignoring you and your needs, but then you're also feeling like there's another hole being dug on top of that because I'm not able to live fully in my integrity either.
Yes.
And so there's something, I love what you said about that. Like, it saved me from abuse. It was a lifesaver. It helped me avoid harm. But you said it's not me. And acting, and we all do this. This is human. But when we act outside of the truth of who we are now acting in a state of falsehood. And that pursuit of falsehood, without even knowing we're doing it because we're just doing it for other reasons, it actually does cause us to pay a price of what's called incongruence. And incongruence is where our actions don't line up with who we are. And the bigger the incongruence, the greater the amount of suffering and the more propensity for shame. And so that is an important thing to work on now that you recognize it, just for your sake. Right?
Yeah.
So, but it's a compulsion now. It's almost like it's second nature.
Yeah.
And as a child, it was a good thing. And I want to maybe just take you back to that space of what were the factors that were present as a child that made that the most adaptive thing you could do for yourself? Because it was adaptive back then, right?
Yeah, it was. It was like I just lived in survival mode every single day. My mom was, she still is, emotionally and verbally abusive, and she did get physical with us quite a number of times. But when her family members, her mom and her sister saw it, they would tell her, if we see these bruises again, then we're going to call the authorities. We're going to take your children away. And then it just got to be where you don't talk about this. Like, she conditioned us that we could not tell anyone. And so we felt like when we told, our grandma or aunt, these things, we weren't aware of what they were telling my mom when we were young. We just thought we told somebody and nothing happened. Nothing is changing. And so we felt like nobody cared. And we were just stuck in this house of horrors. And so that kind of started if you pretend to be this good child and tell her what she wants to hear, then she doesn't hurt you. Mm-hmm. And so you have to play this part, of being the good child.
But you're doing it not because that's just your true nature, but because it feels like the way to survive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm not going to get yelled at. I'm not going to get hit. If I tell these little tiny lies, if I pretend to be this, or if I've done something, then, you just say, no, I didn't do that. I didn't know about it. And that's how you would survive.
Yeah. Okay. So Olivia, can you bring up an image of your younger self when you were in a kind of an instance like that? Can you actually picture your own face as a young child?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. When you say, oh my gosh, what comes up for you? What's going through when you start to do this?
Oh, that little girl is so sad.
She's sad. Okay. You see that in her face?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
She's sad and she's lost. And yet she's on guard. It's kind of like standing in the middle of a tornado and, either being, it was something, worlds swirling around you. You just don't know what's coming at you. So you're constantly on guard. You're always turning to look behind you, in front of you, on the side of you. Just always having to be aware of what's going on, just so that you're not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. As you're kind of watching her, I'm getting this image of you being like a viewer of this little girl inside of the tornado, feeling all of those things, the sad, lost, on guard part of it. What do you feel towards her when you see her in that state? How do you feel about her?
I just want to go save her. I want to just go and put my arms around her and just take her away from that. That's, just
Would she let you do
the
that?
look on her face.
Will she let you do that? Does she trust you to come and do that?
I don't know that she trusts anybody.
No, she doesn't trust anybody.
No.
No. Will she let you approach her inside of that storm? Will she talk to you or interact with you? Yeah.
I don't think she'll talk.
No. Is there anything that she needs inside of that storm that you could offer her?
Probably just to hold her and let her know that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Things are going to happen in life, but
it sounds
you need
like
to be able to feel safe.
Yeah. Okay. You hold her, let her know it's okay, help her to feel safe. I also, kind of a comment that you said earlier. It sounds like a piece of her just tried to, but never felt like it happened because they didn't see behind the scenes, but she wants to know that her story's been seen.
Yes.
She wants to be seen. Is there anything else that she needs?
Probably just this weight, this fear, that she carries on her back all the time. Just to have that gone and to just be a kid. To just laugh. And not always be worried what's gonna, in the next 5 minutes, what's gonna happen.
Is there anything she wants you to know?
She's scared.
She's what you said?
She's very scared.
She's scared. Mm-hmm.
She's scared. She needs help. She wishes that she just had anyone that she can really just talk to and have someone help. I think that's just the biggest thing is you want so badly to tell someone to make it stop, but it just seems like she is in it by herself, even though she has siblings.
Yeah. Are you the older sibling?
No, I'm the middle.
You're the middle sibling, but you felt the pressure to make sure you protected everybody.
Yes, because I was, what did they say? Salty.
Salty?
When I was younger. Yeah. When my dad would come over and get upset with my mom and hit her and choke her out and all that, they were the ones that were in the corner, and I was the one that was like, oh no, we're not doing this.
Mm.
And so, I'm like 3.5, 4, and I'm the one that's going over there and hitting him and kicking him and telling him to get off of her. And so, knowing that that's wrong, just even at that young age, sometimes I think I was so strong to be able to do that, and yet I wasn't strong enough to protect myself.
Exactly. You were a 3 or 4-year-old. In fact, in some ways, it's like you can see the formation of things in your personality, Olivia, where you're the kind of person who runs into the burning fire to try to get somebody out rather than running out and saving yourself on one hand. But on the other hand, when you were powerless, you had to figure out a way to survive. And the best way you could do that was to try to curate the way that people saw you.
Yes.
And that for a person like you is confusing. It's conflicting because your natural tendency is the run into the fire kind of person. It's the courageous action kind of a person. And yet something about yourself doesn't feel like it was worth taking courageous action for. And here's the trick. This is the hard part is that you're an adult now shaming yourself for doing things that were adaptive as a child inside of, I'm just write down some of the words that I put here, inside of a trapped, powerless situation.
Yes.
So the little girl was courageous and brilliant, but the very same things that made her courageous and brilliant are the things that make the adult self feel shameful and compromised.
Yes.
How do you bridge the gap between the little girl and the adult?
Gosh. I don't know. It's hard because I've just been so focused on getting the mask on everyone else, running around the plane and making sure everyone's mask is on. And then it's like I sit down and where's my mask? I don't know where my mask is at. Is kind of how it feels. It's almost like if I take care of everyone else and that's going to feed me, that's going to build me up, but it doesn't, because there's nothing left for me at the end. After taking care of everyone else, there's nothing left for me.
Right. So here's part of the challenge, I think. When we kind of come face to face with these things that we don't like about ourselves, the natural tendency is to actually despise those parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
At least that's me. Like the last few weeks when I had this very same thing hit me in the face. It's like, oh, Tyler, like how long have you been doing this work for? Like, when are you going to stop ruining people's lives? Like,
Yeah.
like, why do you keep doing this, Tyler? But when I default into that form of self-criticism, what I'm actually doing is I'm further ostracizing those younger parts of myself. And the course of action that's actually more effective in the long run and that actually does yield dividends over time is to meet that shadow part of yourself first with self-compassion and understanding and curiosity, and then with correction. And do that 1,000 times over. Every time you notice it, self-compassion, curiosity, and then correction. What you're doing is you're actually attending to the needs of that younger child that never got met with that understanding of self-compassion. I got this image, it's so beautiful in my mind of you being able to step into look at what you can do for yourself right now. You can step into the tornado every single day now and offer grace and love and possibility to a little girl who felt trapped, who felt stuck, who felt powerless. And now every time this comes up, you get a chance to go reach your hand in through that tornado and say, hey, I see you. Like, we don't have to live this way anymore. Like, you were awesome. Like, you did such an incredible job, and you don't have to do this anymore because we could take care of you now. We're developing a new life now. You get a chance to do that every day with this flaw that you see yourself having. Does that make sense at all, Olivia?
Yes.
So how would you do that? What would the nuts and bolts look like on the day to day?
I think I need to, instead of looking for people to fix, I need to kind of look at myself and see where I can serve myself instead of others. Because I'm no good to anybody else unless I've done that for me. And just change that way of thinking a little bit. And then that kind of brings in that little girl to help her heal and grow in, to this woman that I am now, instead of being two separate. Where you've got this broken little girl, but then you've got this woman that puts up this kind of facade of I'm perfect, I'm okay, I'm fine, I don't need any help, but how can I help you? How can I fix you? I need to kind of mesh those two together and heal that little girl and know that it's okay. Know that, yeah, I'm broken, but it's okay. At some point in time, we're all broken. And yet I've always been under the understanding, or have deluded myself into thinking that, if I if I fake it enough, then it will be real. It will be that, that I guess that I can make myself believe that, but it's not true. And I need to actually do the work fixing me so that it is real. It's not just something that's in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And I love where you're going. I just want to connect the dots for our listeners to what you said here, principally speaking. There's a few principles that I want to kind of bring all together. And like, it's almost like as if we were developing a pathway forward, like what would be the elements of the best path forward for you? Okay. So what you just said is something sitting on your heart that's saying, I need to wake up every day and I need to focus on making sure that I fill my own tank, that I do some self-care. And in doing that, that'll actually be a way of nurturing the little girl inside of me that can, well, you said certain things, that can be a kid again, that can, that can laugh, that can be taken care of. In a certain sense, you hear it on the show all the time. We talk about your daily charge or your dailies. What I'm hearing you say is you're almost feeling this press on your heart that your dailies are more than just a good checklist of things to do today. They are actually a way of physically, behaviorally nurturing the little girl.
Yes.
Yeah. And you will still be the kind of person who runs into the burning building and wants to save people, but now you'll do it with a full tank rather than doing it so that you can be good enough. Because you'll have something in the tank if you get in the habit of doing that daily sort of your daily charge, your daily self-care kind of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So how does that feel to the little girl in you when you say that and commit to that? Does that feel right?
It feels bright. I mean, it almost feels like what you're saying. And then when you throw that little girl in there, it just seems like the tornado just stops and the sun comes out.
Beautiful. So you get a chance to do that repetitively over and over again. Every time you do something kind to fill your tank as an adult woman now, you're also doing something kind for that young girl inside of you. And she starts to see the sun come out, which means she's starting to feel safe with you. She's going to start to trust you that you know how to take care of her. And when she can trust you that you know how to take care of her, then she can lay down the need to pursue this sort of like thing that she developed in order to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love the imagery that you're having of this storm stopping and the sun coming out with that. There's a couple other principles here that I wonder would be helpful as you kind of move forward in nurturing the little girl while also addressing your adult life. You said a couple of other thoughts. One is, what does she need? She needs to have her story be seen. She needs to know that she's seen. She needs someone to hold her. She needs someone to encourage her and let her know it's going to be okay. She needs to feel safe. What are the things in your day-to-day life that could be put in place towards those things? Being seen, held, understood, safe. What needs to be developed there?
Wow. One, I think I just need to wake up in the morning and maybe even make lists, just something that's for me, build something into my schedule, and block it out so that I know it's time for me to just have quiet time to sit back and spend time with myself rather than being so busy that I forget me. because I don't do that. It's almost like I can't stop taking care of everyone else. And then when I'm ready to just, drop and go to bed, then, you're too tired to do anything.
Yeah.
To think about anything. And so it's almost like you're running in circles so fast and helping everyone around you, but not taking care of yourself, not giving yourself just a few minutes to just sit there with the quiet and just think about everything and help the little girl that's inside of me instead of ignoring her like everyone else has.
Yeah.
To listen to her and her needs and help her out so that she's feeling safe. And then that will help me.
I love that. And I would suggest that if you were to do that one thing and that was the top priority and you listened to her, that would give you, in essence, that would give you the direction forward on a regular basis too, because she did already let you know that she's already told you there's certain things you could build into your life right now. She needs you to find a way and a place to laugh. She needs you to find a way and a place to be a little girl and have fun again. She needs you to have other people in your life that know your story, that know you and that love you as you are, even with all this character flaw that you carry. And so she's already giving you sort of like, she's giving you the steps to action. She's saying, if you want me to trust you and you want to help meet my needs now, I need to find a place to laugh. I need to find a place to experience being a kid again a little bit. And I need people. I need people that can hold me and not just me be the one that holds everybody. So moving forward, in a certain sense, that's your call to action now, in addition to, and that's sitting with yourself and listening to her. She might come up with new things on a day-to-day basis that's saying, I need this instead, or I need this instead, or I need that instead. But then that's your call to action. And part of what you're doing now, working your own recovery, you're already working towards that. I actually believe that the reason this came out for you is because of all the other work you've already done to get there. You've obviously been through hell as a kid. You've been through hell in your marriage. You finally got to a point of setting some actual boundaries, which meant something inside of you knew you could stand up for yourself and protect yourself. And you actually went through a separation. And it was after all of that. It was after you showed that you could set boundaries. It was after you showed that you were willing to look at those kinds of things inside yourself that now this little girl is coming out and saying, hey, I got this problem. we got to, it's because there's already some level of trust that's there. And so you having boundaries and showing that you can be safe and make decisions as an adult is providing safety for that little girl. So the more you step in with knowing you got good boundaries, self-care, laughter, connection, let yourself go a little bit in some arena, like what did the little girl like to do when she was little? Like, what does she like to do? What if she could do anything she wanted?
See, and that's the hardest part is it was like I was never allowed to really dream or what did I want to do? Who did I want to be? It's like it was so stifled. And I feel like I've been screaming, listen to me. Stop trying to control everything. Stop trying to hurt me. And then it's like when now it's stopping. And now I don't know. I don't know who I am, what I want to be, my likes, my dislikes. It's very foreign.
Yeah.
Trying to turn all that attention that you give to everybody else fixing them and you turn it on yourself. It's really weird. And in a way, it's, I don't know.
And maybe that's part of the starting point, Olivia, is that you get to chance to sit in that quiet time with her and she might tell you like, what is it going to, what will it take to unlock the inner child? And she's like, I don't know. I was so stifled. It's like, well, what would I want to try today? Do I want to go roller skating? Do I want to like, it's like we had this retreat. It was the funniest thing. We had this retreat just recently, this women's retreat, and the house that we all stayed at, it had these kind of cool amenities. It had a gym and it had a pool, but they had also gone and built like this massive slip and slide that went all the way down the yard and then turned around the corner of the back of the yard and then went into like this big swirling pool of water, and
Oh,
I'm like, oh man, like this is the wrong house. Like I could see, turning my kids loose at this house and them loving it. And then on the second day during free time, all of a sudden there's all these like grown women that are just going after it on the slip and slide. Just like just totally turning themselves loose. And it's almost like you could see the countenance in their faces change as they just became kids again. Just like
yeah.
they had a safe space to actually let themselves go. And there's something that's powerful about that. And maybe you don't know what it is yet. Maybe that's the first step is I'm going to create a list of all the things that the inner little girl in me would love to do. And then maybe I go explore a few of those things and some will hit and some won't. And that's okay. But that part of her, like that part of her is important too. And that part of her, when it's fed, actually then allows her to step into who she was designed to be, even as a servant of other people, but to do it with a well of energy that can be given rather than this like place of deficiency. So
I like that.
So what I'm hearing from the little girl, and I'm just going to say this one more time, I know we're about out of time, is she's looking for someone to see her, to love her, to hold her, to protect her. So you giving yourself time to listen to her, meet her with compassion, finding 2 or 3 other people in your life that you can practice being vulnerable with some of these things that you don't share with anybody else, to not curate so much.
Yeah.
Daily self-care. And then one last suggestion that you hear on our podcast all the time, but if you're not already doing it, is I would really recommend some, EMDR, ART work about some of these, not just the childhood stuff, but it sounds like some of the breaches of trust in your own marriage too.
Yes.
I think that targeted kind of work could be really beneficial for you as well.
Okay.
So, last thoughts on your heart or questions, Olivia? How'd this go today?
I actually feel really great.
Yeah.
This has been really good. I definitely feel a lot lighter. It's like things are in color. It's just the weirdest thing, just talking with you today.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so scary to let myself be vulnerable, to kind of put down that wall and let people know that I am human, that I'm not perfect. But that's okay. And I can work on that every single day.
I love
and
it.
Allow myself to make mistakes. And for them, for people to see that. And it's okay.
It's okay. That's right. That's beautiful, Olivia. I'm so glad that that's what you're experiencing right now. It'll be the kind of thing that you'll have to remind yourself of 1,000 times over if you're anything like me. So
yeah,
but that's okay. That's the beauty of being a work in progress, and we get to be a work in progress. And I say that we get to be a work in progress until we die.
yes.
What an opportunity. So, Olivia, thank you for having the courage to come on today.
Yeah.
And just coming on was probably even attending to your inner child a little bit, because people heard parts of your story today. And I think that there's probably a lot of people who are hearing your story and going, me too. I'm so glad she came on. So thank you for your willingness to come on. To those of you listening, if this is something that's meaningful to you, please share it with other people. If you'd like to reach out, one of the best ways to kind of throw a shout out to Olivia is to get on and leave a review and just mention her name in the episode and in your review. And thank you to everybody. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you to our listeners. Hopefully this is helpful. And until next time, you guys keep on keeping on.